We are in the month of October. This is the month of Halloween, the most demonic, the most diabolical month of the year. This is the month where Satanists, witches, and warlocks begin to assemble and perform human sacrifices, animal sacrifices. Children will go missing in this month. This is a month to pray because there's going to be high levels of spiritual activity taking place in the realm of the spirit. I'm telling you right now, Christians, if you're a Christian, you have children, do not allow your child to perform or go trick-or-treating. A lot of the people, when we go to their houses door to door, they're actually giving candies that have been ritualized and have had incantations done to them. We have watched the news where there have been candies where children will get the candies and there will be nails and pills within the candy. There is a diabolical assignment in Halloween. Make sure you do not engage in this thing. We allow our children to dress up as skeletons, marine spirits, the spirit of death, and all these crazy things. They will take on the spirit when they begin to dress up in these demonic costumes. Get deliverance. Halloween is a time of Satan, is a time of death, and is a time of darkness. Get delivered from this thing in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. I'm at this Halloween store right now, and they have holy water. You know, it's a container that's really going to be filled with alcohol, mocking holy water. We got the book of Holy Hammer being drunk, the book of how to get smashed and hammered, mocking the Holy Bible. Then we have Sinful Sister dressing up as a nun. A nun is supposed to represent someone who's holy. It's in Catholicism. I'm not Catholic, but this is demonic. It's all evil. Look at all this stuff. Witchcraft. Mockery of Jesus Christ. Mockery of Christianity. This is evil. Turn away from your sins. Do not engage in Halloween. I'm here only to spread light. We're in the last days. We have stores literally for Satanism, the occult, where they're teaching people how to be a witch, do Ouija boards, how to conjure up spirits. This completely demonic. Look at all this witchcraft all over the store. Complete witchcraft. I think the store is only open. I literally think this is only open on Halloween. Only open on Halloween. See, a lot of y'all know I speak out against voodoo a lot. We got spirit of Halloween voodoo priestess. They want our children, they want you to be a voodoo priest. This stuff is witchcraft. When you put these stuff on, you're going to take on the spirit and become a witch. You're going to be a witch in your dreams. You're going to be a witch on Halloween. This is completely demonic. Get free from this stuff. And then over here, we have over here witch doctor jewelry set. Listen, people who are in the occult who are witch doctors, they actually use the bones of animals and humans to give them power, to inquire of spirits. This is completely demonic. And we see the voodoo mask, the serpent, the snakes, and everything. Come on. This is completely evil. Wow.
Grand Rising Butterflies, this is the Awakened Butterfly, and I am back with another video. If this is your first time coming across my channel, please stay for the entire video. If you enjoy the content, please don't hesitate to subscribe to my channel. Welcome and welcome back to the channel, all of my lovely newcomers as well as my day ones. Thank you guys so much. I really love all of the love and support that I have been receiving from you guys. I hope everyone is continuing to take care of themselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. And without further ado, guys, we're going to get straight into this video. Now, before we get into this video, I want to give a shout out to my credible sources, GreekCityTimes.com, OpenBibleInfo.com, History.com, and TrueDiscipleship.com, as well as TikTok. Thank you guys so much for your credible info resources. Alright guys, as you can tell by the title of this video, I will be discussing the sinister history behind Halloween. You know, this is a very controversial subject because you have a lot of people that feel that there's nothing wrong with celebrating Halloween, that it's just an innocent holiday. It is a part of our culture and it's a fun day for children. And a lot of people feel that if they take this out of their family tradition, that it will dampen their spirit. Many people feel that this is a sinister holiday and it shouldn't be celebrated due to a lot of the dark history behind it. Well, in today's video, I'm going to be discussing the origin of this holiday, as well as some dark events that has occurred on this day as well. Now, guys, as we all know, on October 31st, many people all over the world, men, women, children, and teens, participate in the Halloween festivities, as far as wearing costumes, carving pumpkins, trick-or-treating, and attending fall festivals. Well, celebrating the modern holiday, we all know it's Halloween. We all have probably celebrated Halloween or still currently celebrates this holiday to this very day. And I mean, what's not fun about wearing costumes, attending festivals, and eating treats? This is the one day out of the year where you can also dress up as anything or anyone that you want. And it's cool on that day. Well, what if I told you that there's something sinister and dark behind this holiday? And in today's video, guys, I will be discussing the origin of Halloween and some dark events that has taken place on this day, as well as the spiritual reasons behind why you probably shouldn't celebrate it. And we're going to get into exactly what Halloween is. And the origin of Halloween is associated with the ancient Celtic Samhain festival. And the Samhain festival is where the Lord of evil spirits and death is celebrated. The Celts lived 2,000 years ago before Christ in countries such as France, Britain, Germany, Ireland, and Scotland. During the Samhain festivals, people would dress in costumes and light bonfires in an attempt to ward off ghosts. The Pope Gregory marked November 1st as All Saints' Day. Soon after, the people who acknowledged All Saints' Day began to take on some of the traditions of the Samhain. Now, this is how the evening before All Saints' Day, which is October 31st, became All Hallows' Eve, and eventually became what we all know now is Halloween. Check this clip out, guys, and I'll be right back.
All Saints' Day, also called All Hallows' Day, Hallowmas, or Feast of All Saints in the Catholic Church, is a day commemorating all the saints of the Church, both known and unknown, who have attained heaven. This is a day of celebration and prayer to the dead saints. This is not biblical in the slightest. In Latin America, this time is also known as the Day of the Dead, again with people praying to the dead. So October 31st, the night before All Saints' Day, also known as All Hallows' Day, is the time of the most intense activity, both human and supernatural. They believe it allows the souls of the dead to come back to earth and walk among the living on this day. This is the eve of All Hallows' Day. Let me break it down. The day before All Hallows' Day, October 31st, was recognized as All Hallows' Eve. Remember, All Saints' Day is also known as All Hallows' Day. Hallow replacing saints. Hallow as a verb is to honor as holy, but as a noun it means saint. Een is a contraction of eve or evening before. This is where we get Halloween. Hallow plus een, the eve of All Hallows' Day. This is the day where people worship the dead. Halloween is a lot like Christmas. The Roman Catholic Church adopted it to appease their converts and try to place a holy name and cause around a pagan, devil-worshipping tradition. Now that you know where Halloween comes from, let's talk about the customs and practices that are associated with Halloween. Going back to the Druids, because again, this tradition comes from them. The Druids performed horrifying human sacrifices and other vile rituals during Samhain. Let there be no doubt, Samhain night was a terrifying covenant with death and with hell. The Druids believed during Samhain the mystical veil separating the dead from the living opened. The Druids taught that these Roman spirits loosed on Samhain when searching for a body to possess. Druid priests led the people to diabolical worship ceremonies in which horses, cats, black sheep, oxen, human beings, and other offerings were rounded up, stuffed into wicker cages, and burned to death. This was done to appease Lord Samhain and keep spirits from harming them. Again, Halloween has always been a celebration of death. This is also where the origin of bonfires come from. The word bonfire actually comes from bone fire, which was all that was left after the sacrificial ceremonies were ended. To obtain offerings for these bonfires, Druid priests would go from home to home asking for animals and humans. Those who gave were promised prosperity in the coming year, and those who did not were cursed and threatened.
November 1st marked the end of summer and the day of human demise. They honored this day by making human sacrifices to the Samhain. Through the Celts tradition, they considered November 1st as a day of demise due to its association with endings. Summer was ending, the leaves were beginning to fall, the temperature was becoming cold, and it was becoming darker sooner. They also believed that when fall began, their sun god Muk Allah was losing his power to the shaman, the Lord of Demise, and was being overpowered by his strength. This also led the Celts to believe that on October 31st, Samhain collected the spirits of anyone who passed away that prior year. The spirits were constricted to inhabit the bodies of animals as a form of punishment for their wicked deeds on earth. However, on the evening of October 31st, which was known as the Feast of Samhain, they were permitted to return to their former bodies to visit the living. During the Feast of Samhain, Druid priests guided many people into evil worship ceremonies where animals like cats, horses, and black sheep, as well as humans, were put into wicker cages and burnt to their demise. Now, guys, these wicked acts were done in order to satisfy the Samhain spirits and to prevent other spirits from causing any harm to them. Now, it is obvious that this holiday has always been associated with darkness. Just due to the history, I haven't even gotten fully into the history of things, and it says a lot already. Now, many feel that Halloween is not associated with evil because of the historical connection with their ancestors and a tradition to connect with all non-living spirits. Now, I'm going to play this clip for you guys, and I'll be right back.
Don't be spooked by this Halloween. It's all about your ancestors. Go and set up your altar. Go and set up your sacred space. It is not about scary movies. It is about the spirit of the dead. Erase all.
3 ways you can celebrate Samhain the traditional way, aka Halloween or Hallows Eve. Number 1, it was said in Samhain tradition that the ancestors and the spirits would make their way home to their loved ones on Hallows Eve, Samhain. So they lit candles all over their house. So why not put candles in the window? I would use some battery ones for safety as a sweet gesture to guide your loved ones and others, your neighbors' loved ones, to make their way home. Number 2, create a proper Samhain feast full of mead and nuts and wine and berries and all the squashes and foods of the harvest. Invite your friends over and have them bring a picture of their loved one. Go around the table and share stories to create a memory and a remembrance. And also leave out their favorite dish, their favorite plate. What did grandma and grandpa like? Leave it out so they feel included as well. And number 3, create a vigil or an altar in their honor with pictures, trinkets, and their favorite snack, and keep it up all month. Happy Samhain!
All right, guys, let's talk about the history behind trick-or-treating. Now, during this time, Druid priests would go door to door asking people in their community for black sheep, cows, and even humans for sacrifices. The ones who were compliant were promised they would be wealthy. Those who refused to participate were threatened or cursed. It was said that the spirits would become hungry, and if you leave a treat out for them, they will not curse you. Now, in modern days, we have trick or treating, which is a desensitized reenactment of the wicked acts of the Druid priest. Check these clips out, guys, and I'll be right back.
Remember back in the day when your folks, they used to try to taste your candy, try to see if it was contaminated? Good old days. But with that being said, let's look at the evolution of trick-or-treat. Some of the earliest trick-or-treaters were kids, poor kids in Europe during the Middle Ages, and they participated in something called souling. So what they do, they go from house to house, begging for food. Sometimes they receive a soul cake, and in exchange for that cake, they would pray for the souls of the dead homies of the neighbors that they was taking that cake from, because they believed that their souls were still roaming the earth. You also got something called mummy, and so what they do, they dress up here though, and they perform little skits, tap dance, you know what I'm saying, sing a little something, and in exchange, this will be in exchange for some drink or sweets, whatever. Another interesting tradition, sometimes single ladies, they'd be out there throwing apple peels or cracked eggs into a bowl, and this will be in hopes that the initials of their future husband would appear. Now with the Irish coming through in the late 1800s, we got old traditions continuing, but by the 1920s, them kids, they really started tripping. Really, they was using this time as an excuse to tear something up. So if you didn't get in the treat, they was gonna give you the trick. And so overturning cars, egging your house, throwing cabbage on your porch, assaulting folk, they was really cutting up. Now, once we get to the 1950s, trick-or-treating, it becomes a community thing to try to curb the violence. The rest is history.
Instead of animal and human sacrifices, now you ask for candy instead. Whoever does not give a treat will have a trick played on them. Although the sacrifice, which is now being represented by the candy, is different, the concept still satisfies the evil spirits associated with the practice. When you pass out candy to trick-or-treaters or let your children participate in trick-or-treating, you are idolizing the false gods of the sow-in. And we've all done this, but as we become aware of what's going on, we have to start acting in accordingly. Now, the history behind Halloween costumes, guys, it not only originated from wearing them to ward off ghosts, but it's also derived from the dark rituals that took place with Druid priests. While the humans and animals were screaming in pain from being burnt, on-seekers would dress in costumes made of animal skin and heads of animals. They were known to recite chants, dance, and jump into the fire as a means of blocking evil spirits. Okay, now, as with costumes, since our childhood, they were always seen as harmless. It was always a part of the Halloween tradition. You can dress however you want, as whoever you want it to be. Who would ever thought that it was associated with something so cruel and demeaning, right? You know, it's always good to do your research behind things, because when you do, you find out so many unknown facts, because I most certainly didn't know any of these things until I researched them. Especially what I found out about the history behind the jack-o'-lantern. Now, guys, the history of the jack-o'-lantern is associated with paganistic beliefs. The book Occult Conceit explains how a candlelit skull head or pumpkin was assigned to make a note of the houses and farms who were showing pity towards devil worshippers, and who they felt should receive mercy when the night of the trick-or-treating began. So they felt that anyone who had a carved pumpkin on their porch would be cursed on the night of Halloween. Now that brings me to talk about the origin of witches, because this is last but most certainly not least. You know, you can't mention Halloween without talking about witches. And actually, guys, this is not last. This is not the last. I have another Halloween character that I would like to discuss. And this character is actually based on a real life person. So before I get into that, guys, I want to show you a video about an ex-occult member. He was also a warlock and a satanist, and he will be explaining his deliverance, his new life with Christ, and why he and his family doesn't celebrate Halloween anymore. Check this out, guys, and I'll be right back. Guys, let's talk about one of the most controversial characters of Halloween, and that's witches. Now, witches do not fit the description of what you think a witch would look like. More modern day witches look just like you and me. It seems that it's so easy to adapt and practice witchcraft now, especially due to a lot of the new age spirituality that is being practiced today. Now, the origination of witches began when a Colombian artist drew a pagan goddess in the nude, only wearing a pointed hat and flying on a broom. Now, witchcraft and divination is associated with obscene immorality, nudity, and diabolical occult practices. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 27 says, "A man or a woman who is a medium or a necromancer shall surely be put to death. They shall be stoned with stones. Their blood shall be upon them." Leviticus chapter 19, verse 31 says, "Do not turn to mediums or necromancers. Do not seek them out, and do not make yourselves unclean by them. I am the Lord your God." The Most High is most certainly against the practice of witchcraft. He is most certainly against any other occult spiritual practices, even new age spirituality. But due to the fact that many believe that it's associated with their cultural, ancestry, they feel that it's safe and okay for them to do so, not realizing that they're opening doors for dark spirits to come through. Watch these clips, guys, and I'll be right back.
And they would basically call on the people who had passed on, who were in the graves, for their spirits to come and roam through the earth on this day, that they believed that there was a veil that was thin crossing over from summer into the next month. They believed that that veil was thin going into the next season. And so because the veil was thin between the spirit world and the earth world, that the two could collide. And so that's what they wanted. It was all steeped in witchcraft. It was all steeped in communicating with the dead. That's the original root and origin of this holiday. So much so that they believed that this happened, and they felt this happening, that they would disguise themselves in costumes so that these spirits that were roaming around the earth on this day, that they wouldn't try to take vengeance out on them as a human, that the spirits would see them dressed up as a ghost, and they would pass the human by and go to the next one. And so that's where we incorporate costumes and dressing up. That's why a lot of times when you see costumes, although you see nice angels and these things, but most of them are scary. They are horrific. They're ghouls and goblins and all the things that bring fear.
And by the way, if there's one spirit that we've seen rear its ugly head because of COVID, it's the spirit of fear. We don't need anything in addition.
Come on.
to bring fear on people.
Right.
But do you think, or no, I'm just curious, do witches use Halloween as a point of contact to either recruit people or harm people?
Yes, absolutely. Now, I will tell you this. For me in my life, when I was practicing witchcraft, I wasn't around witches and warlocks who were doing what I would call like evil things. At least in my view, it wasn't too bad, like sacrifices, killing animals, even kidnapping children, all of these things. I wasn't around that group, but I did know, which most people know, that that thing does happen. This is a day that witches and Satanists look forward to, like Christians look forward to Resurrection Sunday or Christmas, or celebrating Jesus. This is a holiday that people are witches, Satanists, people that are doing sorcery and magic, they are on high alert. They will rest all that whole week so that that night they can be up throughout the night, practicing spells, the craft, even roaming around. You notice that if you look at statistics, that night there's more kidnappings, there's more people going missing, there's more crime.
It's going to be a really awkward one for you guys. I really feel for you all. I really do. Because Halloween is nothing but glorifying the demonic realm. Nothing but. And with my background, I knew that Halloween was deadly serious. I knew many covens and just how much people who do mystical practices, people that do incantations, whether it's light or dark magic, Satanists basically, whether they are aware or not, they're all worshipping Satan, and they know that Halloween is a deadly serious night. They know that Samhain is when the veil between our world and the spiritual realm, basically the demonic realm, is thinnest. So it's a way in which they can channel through to the demonic realm a lot easier that night, because it is a thinner, the veil is thinner, it's at its thinnest on Halloween night. And so I already knew that this was a deadly serious time for many people that practice this witchcraft. Now the general public, they're none the wiser really with all of this. They just think it's a fun holiday and they just want to dress up and have fun and eat candy, and you know, that's just showing the deception of Satan, how he comes to you as an angel of light. It's all fun and games, and it's, you know, it's nothing serious, but it is. It truly is.
Guys, Halloween acknowledges paganistic beliefs and rituals, which is why most Halloween costumes represent something evil, like superstitious characters such as Jason, Freddy, Michael Myers, demons, the devil himself, witches, and vampires. Now, speaking of vampires, guys, I want to talk about Dracula. Now, did you know that Dracula was indeed he was a popular character, but he was also indeed a real person. He was born in 1431 and he passed away in 1476. His real name was Vlad III, and within 6 years, he went on a rampage, brutally annihilating men, women, and children. I'm going to show you guys this clip, and I'll be right back.
This guy is Vlad the Impaler, aka Vlad Dracula. Yes, Dracula the vampire is based off of him. He was a ruler in Romania in the 15th century, and he got his name because he impaled more than 20,000 people. He did this to inspire fear in his enemies and his own people. They say that crime was so low under his rule that you could leave a pile of gold in the street and nobody would steal it. People referred to his land as a forest of corpses. In total, he killed more than 80,000 people. People called him Dracula because he used to drink and dip his bread in the blood of his enemies. Every night he would eat dinner in the middle of a circle made of people impaled on sticks. Once 2 Turkish messengers came to pay their respects to him, and they refused to take off their turbans, so he nailed their turbans to their heads.
Dracula orchestrated a plan in his country, Wallachia, which was the southern part of Romania, to eliminate it of the elderly, disabled, sick, and homeless people. He would invite his victims to one of his palaces for a big dinner. He would also get them drunk. After doing so, he would then begin to ask them questions like, do you want to live without a care in the world, having everything you could ever want and need? When the people replied, screaming yes, he would then immediately command the palace be boarded and set on fire, leaving no survivors. The horrendous event originated the House of Horror. Guys, I didn't know that. I really thought that Dracula was indeed a fictionist character, so I learned something new. All right, guys, I want to get into a more serious side of some things associated with Halloween. And at this time, I will be discussing some real life, Halloween stories, some things that actually happened on Halloween that really took a dark turn. And that would begin me talking about the disappearance of Cindy Song. Watch this clip, guys, and I will be right back.
Cindy Song was born on February 25th, 1980. In 1995, she moved from Korea to Virginia for high school. She lived with her aunt and uncle there. After graduation, she moved on to Pennsylvania State University, majoring in integrative arts. It was a major which combined engineering, communications, and science. The course was rigorous, and she also held a few jobs at the same time. On Halloween in 2001, Cindy went to a nightclub with her friends Stacy and Lisa. Her costume was a bunny, like a Playboy bunny. They partied until 2 a.m. before leaving to play video games at a friend's house. At 4 a.m., they dropped Cindy off at her house and then never saw her again. On the 4th of November, her friends called the police to report her missing. Her false lashes from that night, backpack, and phone were all in the house. Her purse with her license and credit cards was missing, but that was it. She was likely still wearing the costume when she left. There's been no activity on her cards, emails, or phone. She just vanished. No one thought that she'd be the type to run away. I mean, she had Britney Spears tickets in her apartment. More in part 2.
Now, as you guys may have heard in the clip, Cindy Song was a 21-year-old South Korean college student who attended Penn State University. Halloween 2001, she attended a Halloween party at a state college nightclub. Cindy was said to have left the club with friends and hanging out with them for a couple of hours before being dropped off at around 4 a.m. at her apartment. This was the last time she would be seen by her family and friends. Now, after the reporting of Cindy's disappearance, they conducted a search of her apartment, and they only found several of her belongings, including the false eyelashes that was a part of her bunny costume that she wore that night. Now, investigators also reported no sign of a fight or struggle. Now, a short while after the investigation, a witness came forward reporting seeing a woman who fit Cindy's description in the Chinatown district of Philadelphia. She was inside of a vehicle with an unidentified male and was screaming for help. Now, this tip came to surface when a man from Luzerne County by the name of Hugo Marcus Selinsky was sent into custody after 5 people's remains were found buried in his backyard. Fortunately, Cindy was not identified as one of those people. However, private witness told law enforcement that Cindy was abducted by Selinsky's accomplice, Michael Jason Kurkowski Jr. Unfortunately, Cindy was brutally sodomized and brought to her demise, after which Selinsky and Kurkowski allegedly buried her body at a different location. This story takes a bizarre turn because shortly after Cindy's demise, Kurkowski, Selinsky's partner in crime, met his demise, and his remains were discovered in Selinsky's backyard as well. Check this clip out, guys, and I'll be right back.
Part 2. Police think she left the apartment to go to the store and then was abducted. Either that or she left with somebody else that she knew and they harmed her. A few days later, a woman who looked like Cindy was seen being forced into a car by a man. The Police have no idea who he is or if the woman was Cindy. The police did state later on that they don't believe it was her, mainly due to faulty eyewitness testimony. In 2003, her case was connected to that of Hugo Selinsky, a bank robber and potential serial killer. Police were informed that Hugo and an accomplice had taken someone from a state college and murdered her that matched Cindy's description. However, when the informant led police to 5 bodies, none of them were Cindy. One of them was the accomplice, though. Selinsky actually confessed to Cindy's death, saying that his accomplice did it and then kept her bunny ears as a souvenir, but he hasn't been connected to her murder officially since her body technically hasn't been found. He is, however, in prison for the murder of his accomplice and his girlfriend. There's theories that he lied about everything, but one of the bodies in his yard was unidentifiable, so the case is still officially unsolved.
Now, a private witness informed law enforcement that Kurkowski was annihilated for withholding the bunny ears from Cindy's bunny costume as a souvenir. However, there was never any evidence found that could link Selinsky to Cindy's disappearance. In 2014 of January, the remains of over a dozen people were found on his property. They have yet to identify one of those people as Cindy Song. So that is still yet an ongoing case as of 2014. That is a very unfortunate event that happened on the day of Halloween. And I could say it's a coincidence. And I know these type of things happen every day. It could happen any day of the week. But the fact that these people were already committing sinister crimes and they picked this particular day in order to commit this one on Miss Song was just very, it just raised a lot of flags with me as far as the evil spirits behind the actions of these people. And there's no telling how many other people that met their demise by the hands of Mr. Kurkowski and Selinsky on the day of Halloween of any other year. But guys, I also want to talk about another story, and this was a Halloween candy poisoning. This is the story of Ronald Clark O'Brien of Houston, Texas. He brought his 8-year-old son, Timothy Mark O'Brien, to his demise. Check this clip out, guys, and I'll be right back.
Timothy O'Brien, an 8-year-old boy, died on a Halloween night in 1974 from candy poisoning. This was not accidental, however, but rather a case of murder. The details behind his murder have left many shocked.
Most of today's testimony came from Jimmy Bates, a close friend of the O'Brien family. Bates said that before Halloween, O'Brien asked if he could bring his children over to trick-or-treat with the Bates children on Halloween night. Both families ate dinner together, and then the fathers took the children trick-or-treating. Bates said O'Brien went to one house where no one appeared to be home, and after the children had scampered ahead to the next house, O'Brien came off the front porch carrying the pixie sticks. He gave the pixie sticks to the children and then later took them back and said he wanted to stop at his car for a moment. Bates said when O'Brien came back into the Bates house, he returned the pixie sticks to the children. Later that night, Timothy O'Brien died from eating a poisoned pixie stick.
Timothy O'Brien lived in Pasadena, Texas, with his father, Ronald Clark O'Brien, his mother, Dayene O'Brien, and his younger sister, Elizabeth O'Brien, who was 5 years old. On the 31st of October, 1974, the O'Briens had dinner with Jim Bates, his wife Jean Bates, and his 2 children, Mark and Kim. Ronald O'Brien had never been very interested in Halloween before, but decided to take the kids trick-or-treating along with Jim Bates. There was a drizzle that evening, and the group had a hard time getting candy because some of the neighbors weren't home. Ronald remained behind the group. The kids knocked on the door of one of the houses, but the porch lights were switched off, so there was no answer. Ronald approached the kids with some Pixie Sticks candy he said he had received from some rich neighbors. Ronald handed the sticks to the 4 children and gave the extra one to an 11-year-old girl he met along the way named Whitney Parks, who attended the same church as the O'Briens. Then they all returned home. Before bed, Ronald O'Brien said his children could have 1 piece of candy. Timothy picked the Pixie Sticks, consumed the powdered candy, and then complained about it having a bitter taste. So his father gave him some Kool-Aid to water it down. Not long after his father left the room, Timothy began to cry in pain and call out to his father. Timothy was throwing up and gasping violently in the bathroom. He was rushed to the hospital but died before he could arrive.
Now, guys, as you guys may have saw in the video clip, this incident took place October 31st of Halloween night, 1974. The child reportedly passed away from eating pixie sticks that had been laced with cyanide he had gotten from trick-or-treating. Now, to stage the horrendous crime to make it seem as if his son was poisoned by a random person, Mr. O'Brien distributed the poisoned pixie sticks to his daughter as well as 3 other children. Fortunately, they didn't eat the candy. Prosecutors provided evidence proving Mr. O'Brien purchased cyanide and that he and another neighbor chaperoned the children that night when they were trick-or-treating. They also discovered that none of their homes were giving out pixie sticks that night. The investigators also concluded that the child's life insurance policy was of a large amount and collecting the funds on his policy was the main motive behind his demise. That is so sad, guys. The case was considered circumstantial because no one actually saw him place the candy in the children's bags. However, Mr. O'Brien was convicted of the crime May 1975 and was executed through lethal injection in March 1984. Now, guys, after presenting all of this research information, I feel that nothing is a coincidence. Just like trick-or-treating, these demonic actions that took place on Halloween are not. But they are indeed sacrifices to the sun gods. I feel that anything sinister that happens on this day is in some sort of way appeasing the spirits that are associated with Halloween. Because a lot of doors are open on this day, because a lot of rituals are taking place, and a lot of sinister acts are being, committed. Halloween is a demonic paganistic holiday, and the portals of the demonic kingdom are said to be open and connected with the living on earth. October 31st marks the day of Satan worship, demons, witches, warlocks, and all other dark entities associated with the devil. Halloween is literally the devil's day. The opposite of the resurrection of the Messiah. Instead, this day represents darkness and elimination. This is also why many devil worshippers perform dark rituals, and they also hold secret satanic ceremonies. The costumes are based around the illusion of being something or someone you are not. This act alone opens the portals to become attacked by demonic spirits, as well as your family. We would never think about the harm. So a lot of things that we do and see as harmless fun, we're actually opening the doors to be attacked demonically. Pumpkin carving it symbolically invites demons into your home to place a curse on you. Satan's job revolves around him plotting to steal, kill, and destroy, and he is most certainly going to aim to make a mark on his day. And if he's aiming to do this every day, he's most certainly going to aim to do it on his day. Halloween is the day he is symbolically praised for all of his wicked deeds. And it's masked to look like harmless fun, especially for children. It's deceiving, it's desensitizing, and manipulating young souls into worshiping him. Overall, this false god worshiping paganistic, diabolical holiday is not the works of God, and whoever continues to celebrate it, especially after the Most High sheds light on the situation, and however you get the message. Whoever still participates in this is against the Most High, whether they want to believe it or not. Let's see what God says about Halloween. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 21. You cannot drink the cup of the Lord in the cup of demons. You cannot partake of the table of the Lord in the table of demons. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 11. Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. The Most High wants you to expose these works. He does not want you to partake in them in any kind of way. And I hope that this video helps someone. And if you know someone that needs to see this video, share this video and, spread the word, spread the awareness. Because, guys, I've been, stopped celebrating Halloween years ago. However, when researching the information associated with Halloween, I found out so many more things that I did not know. Things that are more sinister than I thought that's associated with this holiday. And our children are very attached to this holiday, guys. And they know this. This is also a day where people try and harm children, putting things inside of their candy. This is a time a lot of child abduction and human trafficking takes place. This is just a day of wickedness. And it is a time to stay prayed up and to stay safe and aware. Guys, share this video if you can. I really would appreciate it. Guys, if you would like to show love to the channel, you can do so by donating to the Super Thanks, as well as becoming a member, purchasing a butterfly token. I will discuss the perks of the membership down in the description. I really love you guys so much. I appreciate all the love and support that you give to the channel. And until the next video, guys, peace and blessings.